David Dewar here for Blurb3D. In this tutorial we're going to look at a method of establishing a work plane for modelling at an odd angle in Cinema4D. The louvers on the roof of this building were modelled in place using a custom work plane. How that was done is the subject of this tutorial. So I'm just going to hide the model and you'll see I've pulled out the parapet of the roof so we can just concentrate because that's the area we're interested in. And I'll just uncheck my camera. First thing we're going to do is bring up our snap settings. Where enable snapping. Vertex is the default, that's all we need. So we're also going to bring up our spline pen tool, and we're just going to quickly trace the outline of that opening in the roof. We don't need the parapet anymore, we can just hide that. Okay, what we're going to do is build our louvers on this polygon perpendicular to the longest line of the polygon. But in order to do that, we're going to need to establish a work plane for that. So the way that we'll do that is we'll first of all move the axis handle of our spline to this point. So we've brought up the axis mode handle over here on the left, and we're in object mode. We've got the snap settings up, we've got the move tool, we've just got to snap on that point, and there's the axis handle. That job is done. Now we'll throw in a loft object, and we'll throw a duplicate of the spline under the loft. Whoops. Just grab the spline, control drag the spline in there. We've got a polygon over here. We'll select the loft and we'll make it editable. We could hit C on our keyboard or just check the make editable button up in the top left hand corner of the screen. There we go, got our loft object. We'll go to face mode or polygon mode, immediately select that, and then we're going to go to extrude or MT. Let's do MT, MT, and we're just going to extrude that out. So we've got another face that's extruded out perpendicular to the original polygon, and we're going to use that to position a copy of our first spline. So there's our first spline. We'll go to object mode, get the move tool, and then we just, oops, I didn't move the axis handle to the corner of that spline. Let's do it now. Okay, there's the axis handle, snap to there, uncheck axis handle, and we've got vertex snapping, and okay, so now we're dragging out, control, click and drag, and we've got this duplicate polygon, and we'll just snap it onto the top of that extrude. So now we've got two splines that are parallel. We'll hide that extrude, and we can see what's going on there. So now what we're going to do is introduce the good old artist's figure, and we're going to, well, we could just snap him onto the roof, but he's not lined up. So what we're going to do is apply to him, just left clicking here in the object manager. We're going to apply an align to spline tag, not align to path, align to spline. And we'll drag in that spline that we created, and he's jumped to the start of that spline polygon for the roof. But he's not really lined up. So what we need to do is check the tangential box on the align to spline. And now you can see that the Z-axis of the artist model is lined up against that line, which isn't exactly what we want. We really want him lined up on the long line. So we can use the position tag to get him around there. But the x-axis and the y-axis are not really lined up with this polygon. They're just all over the place. So that's what we've created this second spline for. It's going to be a rail path. So we need to drag it into this railpath field on the align to spline tag. So let's do that now. And there it is. So now y-axis is perpendicular to the long line, so is the x, and both are, and the x is perpendicular to the polygon, and z is running along the long line. That's pretty good. That's, you know, most of what we want. But we're going to do a couple more things, and that would include bringing up our work plane options, our palette, and we're going to, down the bottom of that palette, we're going to check the align work plane to selection command, and immediately you can see, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a grid that's lined up to the feet of the figure. So while that's in place, any parametric object that we drop in, it's going to line up with that. It's going to come in at that origin. So let's drop in a cube, and there it is. Bring up the move tool, and let's snap that cube to the start of our log line. Might make it a bit smaller. Don't need it that big. Okay, and also I want to rotate the cube so that its y-axis is pointing up perpendicularly out of our roof plane. So I'm just going to bring up the rotate tool, hold down the shift key to constrain it, and then there we go, got 90 there. And now what we've got is our cube at the start of the long line lined up with the work plane. But I think I might get my x-axis to line up with the long line rather than the z. So let's rotate the cube again. Holding down the shift, rotate it through 90 degrees. It now lines up with that long line. So if I hit the align work plane to selection again, I get a new work plane that where the origin is this corner of the polygon and the x-axis is this long line of the polygon. We don't need now the rail spline or the figure, so we might just hide those. Let's do that. Okay, we don't even really need to see this cube, we just need to know it's there. Let's give it a name though, let's call it the align cube. And anytime we want to work on the roof here, we can just click that cube and check align to work plane to selection. So we might have actually gone back to do something else and hit align work plane to Y, and now we're over there. You can see the work plane is back where at the origin, world origin. But if we want to start working on the roof again, we can. We've got the cube selected. We just hit align work plane to selection, and we jump back there. So that's pretty cool. And if we look at our model now, and just turn on the parapet briefly, when we hit F2 or look at the model from the top, we're actually looking at our model, display garage shading, we're actually looking at our model from the point of view of that work plane. So that's pretty cool. All right, we'll go back to the perspective view and hide the model. All right, so we want to make some louvers. So what we're going to do is, while we're in this work plane mode, we're going to drop in a plane, and it automatically comes in lined up to the roof. And we want to divide, we want exactly 20, let's say, louvers spanning this polygon that are perpendicular to the long line. While it's at the origin here, we could just drag the yellow button out to make sure that it's the same length as the polygon line, because we've got snaps to vertex happening. So we'll grab that yellow dot, move it over here, and boom, we now have a polygon whose half length is the same length as our roof polygon. So we're going to just drag it out so it covers the roof. Now, obviously, half the polygon spans here, so if we want 20 divisions there, we'll need a total of 40 to cover that polygon. We only need 2 hide segments to achieve what we want. And that's it. We've got all those lines. So let's make that plane editable. We just do that now. Now it's editable and we can select polygons. So we've got a polygon mode and get rid of all the polygons that don't overlap our roof polygon. So just select them all and delete. Now we want to trim off the bits of polygon that overlap and are outside our roof polygon. So if we go to top view, F2, maybe we'll look at it this just as lines. So we'll go to lines mode. And under mesh, we're going to bring up the line cut, or we could type KK. Let's do that. Let's type KK. KK. Got the line cutting tool there. And we've got the snap on vertex snap happening. So we can just click there. And now we're just going to cut up those polygons. And then hit escape. So we can now get rid of all the polygons that are outside the roof polygon. Select them all and delete. There it is. So now we're going to go to segment mode. Go to top view, let's say, again. And grab all those internal segments. And then under spline, we're going to go down to conversion and hit edge to spline. And what happens is we get a spline that's a child of the plane. And let's hide the align cube as well. And hide the plane, because we're really only interested in the spline at this point. So let's throw in a circle spline and immediately make it editable. And go to point mode, and we'll bring up the, just at object mode for now, and bring up the scale tool, and we'll scale it so that it's an ellipse, kind of skinny ellipse for a louver, and then reduce it a bit. We'll throw in a sweep, and then throw a pair of those things under the sweep. Now we have our louvers. I might grab that circle, I'm just going to scale that down, make my louvers a bit smaller. I'm going to go to points mode and select all the points in the ellipse and bring up the rotate tool this way. I'm now going to display the model. Whoops, let's hide the louvers I made previously. Okay. And we've got the point selected in the circle that's, or the ellipse that's being extruded to make louvers. We're just going to rotate those to get the angle that we want. They're not all going the same way. That's because not all the segments in our sweep object are running in the same direction. So let's hide the model, hide the, deactivate the sweep, select the plane spline there, and you'll see they don't all have the same direction. Direction's indicated by this gradient from white to blue. So we're just going to grab, most of them are going white to blue at the top to the bottom, but some are not. So we'll just grab a point in each of the ones that are blue at the top. And then under spline, choose tangents, no, point order, reverse sequence. And that should do it if we reactivate the sweep. No, I missed one. Don't know how I managed that. Missed that one. Spline, point order, reverse sequence, there it is. And that's it. We now have our louvers all running in the right direction. So we can go back to that circle, start rotating it to get the right angle. And we could take out our original spline that we used to do all of this, and throw down another circle, throw down another sweep object, pop those two things in there, and we have a big old sweep happening. We just need to reduce that edge. If we grip that and throw in that sweep, call it louver, we can now move those clear of the roof a bit. And that's looking pretty good. We're done, really. We'll go back. Let's get rid of the stuff that we're not using. Make them invisible. Throw the figure. All the bits and pieces we're not using anymore. So there's our new louver. Spelled incorrectly. There we go. Louver. Let's throw the material that we're using for things like metal. Enamel. Throw that on there. Go to our viewpoint. Where's that? There it is. Okay, let's line this baby up for a bit of a render. Get rid of the parts. Let's check the render. And by the way, I'm using Corona for this little render. Let's see how we go. Well, there it is, by and large. Modeling another angle in Cinema4D. Cheers.